You guys know the drill for the 14 people that watch us regularly. What's the Eagles Nest podcast? I'm, of course, Brad Brewer, joined as always because I can't get anybody else to do this with me. Vince Devall.
Hey, thank you.
And today's topic is a good one, but before we get to that, we're gonna highlight another great local business.
Yeah, absolutely. Today's shout out goes to Bubba's Brickyard right here in Burlington, a true local staple.
Yeah, Bubba's Brickyard is known for its casual atmosphere, great spot for either families, teams, sports enthusiasts, because they've got several screens where you can watch the
Yeah.
game. I think even a big projector screen.
Yep.
I should know this. I was just in there twice in the last 2 weeks, which is funny because I'm so sporadic with going to Bubba's. They also do have for parties and different events, a downstairs bar and kind of a banquet area
Yeah.
too. So that's another thing that
Exactly.
stands out.
You know what we love about this local hotspot is Bubba's. It's not a chain, right? They're a community anchor. Places like this typically employ dozens of local workers, support nearby suppliers, and create a place where people actually can connect.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Bubba's, like just like a lot of other restaurants, are one of the big drivers of local foot traffic too, which we love to see the people, especially not so fun this time of year. I get it,
Yeah.
but when it gets warmer out, people just out and about. I think they're one of the places too, the tables outside, so just gets that downtown vibe really going, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so if you haven't checked out Bubba's Brickyard yet, or it's been a while, do yourself a favor, get out there, support local, eat well, and have a good time.
Yeah, and I'm gonna lean forward because my coffee, I'm just staring at it and because we're excited with excited my Private Riser mug here.
She's joining us today.
I'll talk about that later.
Okay. Now, team, we got a new team listing that just hit the market, I think Thursday or Friday.
Yes, we've got Holly's, brand new listing. So what's the address? Vince, on
Yeah,
that one?
that's 8832 Osceola Avenue, Morton Grove.
Yeah.
Just hit the market, and this one's a gem. It's a great little property.
Holly's one of our Illinois agents, of course,
Yep.
as you probably pointed out. So it's an Illinois listing. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch, just over 1,100 square feet. And I have not been in it. I'm not an Illinois agent, but from what I hear, it feels and lives bigger than it suggests.
Yeah, very, very open. Absolutely, the layout's clean, very functional. The home has been cared for the right way. Got a classic Morton Grove neighborhood feel, quiet streets, great walkability, and close to everything.
And the lower level is perfect for entertaining, movie nights, game days, or just extra space to spread out or throw your kids down there if you're tired of them.
Yeah, so if you're looking for a move-in ready ranch, fantastic community. Holly's listing at 8832 Osceola is definitely worth the look.
Yeah, and now as the train goes by, I'm curious if you could comment if you're watching it, if you could hear the train. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm curious too.
Doesn't seem that loud, but we never know.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right, shifting gears to today's topic, and it's something that can cost homeowners real money if they get this wrong.
Yeah, so true. Yep, the biggest mistake sellers make when selling their home, backed by some real stats.
Yeah. And by the way, we're going through 14 steps today. You could basically summarize all of these, and we could make this episode end right now if you just call the Eagle Homes team.
I love it. I mean, why waste time watching? Just give us a call.
We'll just walk you through it. But just in case you decide to go with one of our our competitors, other agents.
Exactly. We'll still break them out for you today.
Yeah, we'll still break them out for you today. So anyway, overpricing your home. That should be number one. That's one of the biggest things. It's one of the biggest issues. So Vince, what mistakes for this number one topic? Maybe the most expensive one. What are some of the mistakes here?
Pricing a home price. Homes priced too high, sit longer, statistically sell for less. After price reduction, the market almost always wins in a situation like this.
Yeah, I think one of the big things I always tell people is like, well, what's my home worth? Well, we're going to use statistics, comparables, comps, as we call them, to best educated guess, or statistically speaking, this is what your home should sell for. But at the end of the day, the phrase I always use is the market is dictated by whatever buyer is willing to pay most for your home.
Yeah.
So it is ultimately dictated by what we call the market, which is the buyers.
Yeah. Now, next is skipping, MLS exposure. What happens with sellers trying to keep a listing quiet or off the MLS, Brad?
Less exposure means, of course, automatically that's just fewer buyers, weaker offers. MLS equals competition because when you put a listing on MLS through an agent, one, you're getting automatic exposure through all the syndicated websites, the homes.com, Zillows, realtor.coms. There's several others, along with some other feeder sites from those companies like Truly and stuff like that. So you're really maximizing in one shot. You're making sure you're digitally marketing your property through a lot of different websites. And one of the big things, which is the next topic, but a bleeder into that would be, you know, because of the rules of how Zillow is considered a brokerage because they're actually a licensed brokerage in many states. And due to Wisconsin rules, you can't put it on Zillow. But even if you did, again, that's not going to feed from Zillow all the other ones. So you're missing a massive part of the market.
Yeah, and that's where FSBOs come in, right? That's their the hole that they're going down.
Yeah, FSBO for sale by owner, spell it
Yeah.
out, still sounds like a very tempting to some sellers based on because inventory is still low, homes are moving pro. But what do the stats say on this, Vince?
Yeah, only a small percentage succeed. I mean, I think it's less than 7%. And statistically, they net less. Their deal, they personally have to deal with the pricing, the negotiation, and the biggest thing is the legal details. And that's where a lot of deals start to fall apart is on the legal details that for sale by owners just don't realize.
Yeah, and the stats vary here, but usually I think right now it's like basically what works is going through and hiring a professional. It's I could use a ton of different things of professional things I just need done around my home that I would never attempt myself, nor should I, because of my skill set with anything beyond a drill. But especially with the stats are around 5 to 7% right now of all homes sold are sold through an agent because of course everyone else try, but they end up failing. And the ones that succeed, I've ran numbers for people in the past, and profit wise, they probably would have been better off hiring us. An attorney, love our attorneys, we work with attorneys. They're not marketing your home, they're going to help you with the transaction, and their cost could end up being more than you would pay on commissions.
Oh, yeah, we have a deal right now that Illinois buyer wanted to use an attorney in a Wisconsin deal, and it's costing her quite a bit.
Yeah.
On top of everything else,
Yeah.
right?
Again, we use attorneys. They're needed many times in transactions. More in Illinois being an attorney state versus Wisconsin. However, there's a right time to bring in the attorneys, which we of course talk about with our clients. So
yeah. So Brad, it's that time of the year. We're right before Super Bowl. Everyone says Super Bowl kicks off the market, but how much does timing really matter?
It's a big deal. I mean, again, I've said this before in other topics. It matters, but it doesn't because I could pick a time of the year until I give you a positive or negative.
Right.
It's January. Okay, well, buyers, there's only motivated buyers out there. There's also less listings on the market. So, but you're not really competing against a bunch of other buyers. There will become more motivated once warmer weather comes along for whatever reasons. But a lot of it just really depends on the inventory levels. It's always a buy, econ 101 as I always call it. Supply and demand, right? So for instance, I just, statistically speaking, every year April is the highest listing month. That's when so I was like, okay, it's spring, let's put the house on the market.
Our groundhog tell us what happens there.
Exactly. But again, and then also with other things like interest rates falling. When interest rates fall, that tends to shift like the activity level. So at the end of the day, it's inventory levels and then different market factors that trigger little spikes. But historically speaking, April's like the biggest month.
Yeah.
So that's where the competition starts.
Exactly.
Ignoring repairs can be in a number of different ways a bad thing. And I'm gonna ask you this question, and I'm gonna take the other side of it, which is overdoing on repairs. So we're gonna do two ways. So, but what happens to sellers when they skip repairs?
Oh, this is a big one. I actually just had a listing appointment yesterday, and we talked a lot about just small things like these potential sellers had a roof leak. They got the roof repaired, new boards, new shingles, everything. But what they didn't fix yet was the stain that was in their kitchen. And I was like, this has to be fixed, right? I don't care that you re-insulated the attic. I don't care that you have a new roof. They're going to assume the worst right there. So and that's what happens is buyers assume the worst. They then discount their offers. based on what they assume the repairs need to be done. So, finish those small projects, putting up trim, finishing a paint job, and if they're watching, I apologize. I'm using your guys' house as an example. The wife decided she was going to use this glitter paint on one of the walls in the kitchen. And as it got to the top of the wall and came back down, the roller went over that spot more than the rest of the wall. It looked like, because it was in the kitchen and it was like a bluish wall, it looked like the top of the wall was grease stained, like it was, or smoke stained. It was like that yellowish, darker greenish type deal. And I was like, guys, I don't know if you guys cook a lot of greasy foods, but we got to fix that. And like, no, it's just glitter paint. And I'm like, so finish those projects.
Yeah.
Make those small repairs. There's,
Yeah.
I do it with my buyers. We walk in, we see repairs not done or things that need to be fixed. We're discount price based on it.
I liked your example. That was a great example with the fact that, like, or all houses settle, right?
Yeah.
And you get those little settlement cracks, especially on driveway seams where there's taping and mudding. That's very common. And again, buyers are going to assume the worst. Also, kind of to this point, when you're preparing your house, the inexpensive stuff is a lot of times just the little visual stuff. And guess what? Home inspector is not digging. They can't dig in walls. They're basically doing a visual inspection. Now they're going beyond what we do as agents. We do walkthrough, which we call ours a visual inspection, because they're taking off, they're testing outlets. They're taking off the covers to your furnaces and checking some more of the mechanical stuff.
Right.
They're jumping up and diving into the attic a little deeper, stuff like that. But overall, just by walking around yourself and taking care of those little visuals, like those duct tape seams, or like you were talking about this kitchen situation, or little water stains that have been there forever from, you put your drain tile in, you put your sump pump in, you haven't seen water in decades.
Yeah.
But an inspector is going to see that, even though you've cured it a long time ago, and there's never been an issue since. Just take care of those little things. And to me, it's always cleanliness and painting.
Yeah.
They're the least expensive and the most bang for your buck.
Right.
Where I think people go overboard, I'm sure you got some great samples of this too, is like, do you really need to do a kitchen remodel if your kitchen's outdated? Well, if everything's working well, again, clean it up, paint it, maybe do a couple little minor things. But you do a full kitchen, especially if you go overboard, you could maybe only get 70-80% return.
Right.
Because you're selling your house right now.
Right.
If it was long term, be better.
It's kind of funny because these same sellers that I met with yesterday.
They're gonna hate you if they're watching.
Yeah, no, they're great examples. But like their basement, they're finishing their basement, and they got the bathroom all electrical's done, all the plumbing's done, half the drywall's hung. It's all there. And I was like, well, let's get the bathroom finished because that would be a great plus. But don't worry about anything else. He's like, but I have everything else. He's already got all the drywall for the ceiling, all the drywall for the remaining walls, the paint, the light fixtures, the flooring, the tile. Like he has everything. So his largest expense is already done and paid for. But he's going to add about 1,200 more finished square feet in the basement.
Is he doing that himself?
Well, I think we're gonna hire it out. Okay. He hired out the electrical, the plumbing, things like that. That's all done. But he was gonna start doing the drywall. But he doesn't have time.
Because if you're skilled, like I made the comment, like there's just things I won't take on because I love the term "do it yourself," but you should be skilled if you're doing it yourself. When I'm touring homes with a buyer and I use the phrase "this looks like DIY," that's actually not a good phrase at that point because I don't want it to be able to tell that it was done by a non-professional.
Yeah. Or a skilled individual.
Non-skilled individual.
You mentioned cleaning, decluttering, staging. Is it still worth it?
Oh, 100%. I think it's one of the most important parts of your pre-listing prep. I use the 3 C's. I talk about my clients constantly. It's clean, clear, clutterless.
Yep.
Clean, obvious. And don't sway. We've got referrals for this. I've done it for my personal homes. Every single house I've sold personally, I hire a professional cleaner. To me, they're going to do a way better job than I ever think I can. Now, I get it. There's some of you out there that are like basically
OCD.
professional cleaners.
Yeah.
And I'm OCD, but I still hire a professional because it's going to look way better.
But it's a different set of eyes too,
and it's worth the $200 to $300 usually is what depending on the size of your house.
Yeah.
Clear floor surfaces, tabletop surfaces, kitchen countertop surfaces. Kitchen. I'll use the example of the kitchen. What are appliances you use every day in your kitchen? Coffee maker for me. What's an appliance on my counter I maybe use once or twice a week? Toaster. Stick it in a drawer.
Yeah. Get rid of
Bring it out once or twice a week while you're selling your home. You want to make your surface, your floors, and your countertops to be show visual because that shows that, hey, I've got storage, I have space. And then of course, then that prevents the look of clutter.
Yep.
Start getting rid of little things. And ask your agent this. Most of us are really good at saying you're kind of over furnished. Like I find master bedrooms a lot and living rooms are over furnished.
We're not talking about this my listing appointment anymore then.
So, but yeah, so
they need more room.
It's those 3 C's are the fastest way to get your home ready and looking great with the cleanliness. This is where I'll throw in certain rooms. Again, good thing to talk to your agent about is does painting the whole house or does painting certain rooms make sense?
Yeah.
So, now this one's a pet peeve of mine, and I noticed it online. I know buyers are really noticing that now because there's so many agents now are getting smart and hiring professional photographers because online photos are in fact your first showing. So why overall is it critical though that you have good photos?
I mean, you just said it. It's the first showing. If you have bad photos, it kills momentum right from the start, right? If you have, photos that were taken with a Nikon, we talked about Kodak or Nikon last week, a couple weeks ago. They've been taken with a crappy camera and it's got bad lighting. It just is not going to show well.
Yeah.
And 99% of people look online first. So you have to have good photos. You have to have good videos. You have to have a way to catch their eye to get them in the house. Without that, they're just going to scroll right over it. They're the finger swipe, right? Or the so it's
100%, 100%.
And I just mentioned we talked about videos and things like that. How do you feel about 3D market, 3D tours, video, some of the modern marketing we're seeing today?
Again, going back to the comment of that we both mentioned, which is your first showing is online. Homes that have a strong digital presence, video marketing, video tours, not always the aerial shots that don't make sense in a lot of homes, but just good photos that are highlighting the popular areas and then getting that stuff out on your websites, your social medias, obviously MLS, things like that. Floor plans, I'll add into this one.
Oh yeah.
Floor plans have become really popular. Pretty much do it now with all our listings. We do floor plans because people can then see, they can see the measurements, they can see where the square footage adds up. So for instance, like Holly's listing, I'm not going to go there because I'm not an Illinois agent, but I can say that it feels bigger than it does because I can look at the floor plan and just notice those things.
Yeah, yeah. And you can see, when it says it's a split ranch, you can see the master bedroom on one side, the extra bedrooms on the other side. It gives you a better visual. I do a lot of homes.com 3D tours. It's great for those listings, but yeah.
So then there's the thing where you focus on the wrong features. So what do sellers often overvalue, Vince?
Man, I think my personal preference, buyers care about the condition, the flow, and not the emotional attachments. I think a lot of sellers in general have that emotional attachment to their home, and they have a hard time separating that out. And they focus on, maybe the living room or they had a playroom, right? Like, who cares about that? Like, someone else could have a different vision for those things. So yeah.
Here's a tip for agents I'll give too. Kind of like things to market and not market. One of my favorite things to ask sellers, of course, when I'm meeting with them, I always ask them what things about their home they loved.
Yeah.
There's always something, and I know if I asked you, what are things about your home you don't love? I know two of them because we've talked about this many times. The master bathroom sink.
Yeah. Yep.
And you have a 2-car in your house, probably should have a 3-car garage. Yeah. Those are 2 right now that I can mention because he mentions them all the time.
I want to be 3-car wide, by the way, in case my wife's
listening. Those are things that's good to know. We want to know the things you love because most likely other people will love them. So we want to feature them in those digital videos, and photos. But we're not going to so much feature the stuff you don't like, because most likely other people aren't going to like it. And your goal is to get them to the home, fall in love with everything else, the same things that you loved, and kind of then just say, well, this isn't such a big deal.
Yeah.
I'll build another garage later, or I'll make a double vanity or whatever it is, right?
So true.
Yeah.
So true. You know, and I think the next thing a lot of homeowners don't do, and it costs them in the long run, is disclosing items. You know, poor disclosure. So why, Brad, is disclosure such a big deal?
Um, because kind of like when we talked about the visual stuff, and I said when inspectors go through, they're 99%, 95% or whatever that they're doing that inspection is everything that we as agents and you as sellers and buyers can visually see walking through. So even if it's not an issue, but if you don't take the steps to fix it, cure it, paint it, whatever it is, you should mention it in the condition report and mention it's a not issue. Been there for years, hasn't moved.
Right.
Just the fact that you acknowledged
Disclosed it, yeah.
even the disclosing or that it's a non-issue will put buyers at ease.
Yep.
And then and any good inspector will come through then and say, yeah, they're right. This has probably been here for years.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where I would say is a big step.
I agree.
All right. Getting into negotiations, our job is to remove emotions. How can sellers gain emotional hurt?
Man, deals fall apart when sellers take offers personally instead of strategically, right? They, when they take the emotional aspect of, well, I've raised my family here for 25 years. Why can't they, right? Or, I put all this money into this house over the years. Why are they, lowballing me now, right? It's the market, it's statistics that are out there, and it's what the buyers are willing to pay for a home. So when a deal falls apart because sellers are taking things personally, our jobs are to help them take it out. Our job is to say, hey, Brad, this is a business transaction.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, will you be happy with walking away with X, Y, or Z, right?
Yeah.
And if you go, no, I want Z, no matter what, okay, let's figure out how to negotiate that without the emotion.
I like that you put that too, because at the end of the day, things will come up in the inspections. Things will come up. You can't take it personally. It's a buyer's interpretation stuff. That's when I often go back and get the sellers to go, okay, even if we have to deal with a couple things, maybe it's costing an extra $5. Here's still your profits. Here's still what you're walking away with. Here's now what you can go do with that. Is this really that big a deal? And most of the time they're like, you're right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, I think it comes down to, I had a listing last year, probably May, June, somewhere like that, limited showings. Mm-hmm. How important is flexible showings, Matt?
Oh, it's huge. You got to remember when buyers are typically out, unless they're looking for something unique. But most buyers, if you're looking for a home downtown, like City of Burlington, for example, you're probably out looking at 2-3 homes with your agent at a time. So when you come across, when you're trying to be out from say 2 to 4, and you can't get into 2 to 4 to one of those, you're going to miss out on a potential sale because you could have been the favorite home, but you didn't get that opportunity. So I just told this to a seller, there's a listing coming up next week. And I said, ideally, the day it goes live, just be prepared to accommodate, especially the first 48 hours, because it's a popular neighborhood in Burlington. It's a popular style home. It's a nice home. I said, be super accommodating at least the first 48 to 72 hours.
Yeah.
That will be huge for you. So, but you can lose multiple buyers for not being flexible. So it's an inconvenience. I know there's kids issues, animals, be flexible.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, it's huge.
Another thing is, what's the first impression of the home when you pull up?
Curb appeal.
Right. So what do you talk to your sellers about with that?
A little bit of everything. Buyers still decide how they feel about the home before they really walk in. But remove, if it's this time of year, keep the sidewalks clean. Make sure that if you have just even dogs, animals that poop pee in the front yard, get them cleaned up, right? Because it just makes it not look great. Come spring, freshen up your mulch, freshen up, like put out a flower pot, change your mat when you walk in. And so something as simple as welcome home. People are like, welcome home. Oh, maybe this is my home, right? Psychological things like that. Really, it's the first impression. It's got to look good from the outside. Don't have a bunch of trash,
Yep.
Sitting on the curb, stuff that you were hoping was going to get picked up by bulk pickup, or even around the outside of the house. So yeah.
Another good thing, by the way, I'll throw out there real quick is why selling sometimes in the wintertime when snow's on the ground. Honestly, right when spring kicks in, your mulch beds and things don't look that pretty yet.
Right.
So it's kind of nice, like that stuff's covered up, and then and then it blooms by May or whatever. So I just there's some timing there too. I just thought about that.
I agree. Now jumping into the last one before we wrap up, Brad, what catches sellers off guard at the end of every transaction?
Closing costs.
Yeah.
100%. Concessions potentially, and of course, usually, I think agents are pretty good and they calculate the commissions. Usually there's some very generic ways, but there's apps out there now. There's apps from title companies that you can do estimates on closing costs. Even explain little details like some mortgage companies with the payoff, they don't include your escrow for your taxes. And sometimes they'll put that in there. Sometimes you get an extra check for your escrow a couple weeks later after closing. So there's just little things there. And then with the changes of concessions throughout from inspection, whatever, those are just things that I usually throughout the process for my sellers is give updated net sheets.
I think it's a great idea.
Because of this, now your net's adjusted to this. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. And it's nice, but they're constantly informed of what's going on.
Yeah. And that way it's not a surprise come, the 30th day right before closing, and they see that, their closing statement, they're like, whoa, I'm only walking away with 200. I thought I was walking away with 220, because they forget about those small incidentals, or that they haven't paid 2025 taxes yet and things like that. And
there's a lot of things they forget about. And the worst thing for sellers is you surprise the seller on numbers at the end. It is not a pleasant conversation.
Yeah, no, it's not.
All right. So if we had to simplify today's episode, what do you think?
Number one thing, just call us, right? Call the go home.
We said at the beginning, we could have just shortened this. This could have been 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
We bored you for almost 30.
Yeah. So, but because avoiding these mistakes isn't luck, it's strategy, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're here to help you do, is figure out that strategy, put it all together, and, move forward.
I'd say our number one thing before we sign off is our job is to manage the process, eliminate the stress beyond all the marketing.
Right. Yeah.
Thanks everybody for joining. We'll see you
have a great week
on the next one.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.